Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world. Time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Full game for the win! Ayler's gone. Goodbye. Touchdown, Indy. Woo! IU. America. They got a football team now.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh, now, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Appreciate you being with us on this Wednesday. Glad to be along and back in the studio. Jim Coyle with you, as always, on this glorious day. Another Okie dokie. Well, we'll have to do some editing there, but hope everybody doing well, enjoying this week. And October, it has been crazy good. I hope that you're enjoying the weather and enjoying all that's going with it as we're coming here. Good to be back in the studio, kind of sorts. Good to be back. Not necessarily good when things aren't going well, but a lot of traveling and a whole bunch of other things. But Indiana football rolling, of course, after going out to Eugene and knocking off the number 3 Ducks to finally cast aside any aspersions that people may have. But you know what? It's still not going to be enough. but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We'll hope that the program keeps rolling because, man, we're talking about rarefied air here. We're talking a shot, a legitimate direct path to the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis against Ohio State. Man, can you imagine that? Well, you might as well be imagining it because it's likely to happen with Indiana right now on a direct path. Even if they were to lose to, say, Penn State. I mean, you can throw anybody in there, really, because is Penn State the toughest game on the schedule? I don't know right now. After what happened with Northwestern, I don't even know how you even begin to talk about that. But it is what it is. And as crazy as it is, it's real, people. It is real. And it's great to see. I'm sure that the fans are enjoying this, as you should, as hopefully we have things fixed there. Had some technical issues going on, man. It's been an issue the last few days. But there we go. Man, can you imagine being a part of this college football chatter, but being a serious part of it? Indiana is for real. They are a legit national champion competitor. UCLA is scary right now. Is UCLA scarier than Penn State right now? One guy said 1% what? I'm not sure what that means reading the comments. I have no idea what that means. But man, what a shuffle in the Big Ten. Who'd have thunk it? We're asking, or I'm asking, if Penn State or if UCLA is better than Penn State, and meaning it. Now, do we see the same thing with Penn State after they roll the coaches? Does that change anything for Penn State? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out. And the thought that Curt Cignetti would leave Indiana for Penn State, yeah, he's from Pennsylvania, but you know what? I don't know that there's any Penn State ties other than they have a bunch of money and they have a bunch of resources. But as I've said many times before, I think Curt Cignetti likes doing it where it hasn't been done. I think Curt Cignetti likes doing what's not possible. And I think that is why he will stay at Indiana. Now, Indiana's going to have to come up with some more money. Don't get me wrong. Without question. And soon. But those are champagne problems to have, as they say. Champagne problems to have. Did you ever imagine a day? No, you didn't, because it wasn't even within dreamable that we'd be talking about Indiana football in this manner. No.
No one even dreamed of this. The undreamable dream for Indiana fans. But it's here. And it's real. And it's pretty amazing to watch from the outside. Being in Oregon was an amazing thing. And I have to say, if I haven't said it enough, the Oregon people are the most amazing people I've ever encountered in sports. They were unbelievably welcoming and just genuinely nice as they could be. I mean, they were genuine. After the game, they were genuinely nice. It was amazing to see, but very nice to see in a realm in a world where you don't see that kind of behavior. Man, it was incredible because it doesn't matter if it was male or female, young or old. They were all just very congenial. So make sure I give them their flowers, man. Got to give them their flowers. They deserve it. But Indiana gets the flowers as well. Is right now they're playing with what is looked upon as one of the NFL's top draft picks, Fernando Mendoza. So you can forget about him being here another year. But that's okay. You'll have little bro in there. And things can change between now and then, as things always do. But right now, Mel Kiper, you've heard of him. He's got the number 1 pick to the New York Jets, taking Fernando Mendoza. The worst offense in the NFL. How about them apples? That's your reward for being the best, is going to the worst. Yeah. The Cleveland Browns, with the 3rd pick, taking another quarterback in Dante Moore. Don't they currently have 2 top draft picks on their quarterback list? I mean, that's the story always for the Cleveland Browns. They rotate through more quarterbacks than the NFL does. Hey, we've got to take a break. Want to come back? Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette will be with us. Appreciate you being along for the ride on this Wednesday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio back with more right after you hear from our favorite sponsors. Appreciate you for being with us today. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Dylan Sinn joining me now. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, as always, Jim.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure. How was your weekend? Where were you?
I took a rare weekend off. I went to a wedding of one of my best friends got married in New Jersey, and so I was there. I was very excited to be with him, but I was also, of course, following all the action on my phone kind of during the reception as well. So I had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, oh yeah, plenty of action going on, of course, with Purdue and Notre Dame and Indiana. Of course, Indiana, a top 10 showdown out in Oregon, of which few to no one gave Indiana a shot at. And not only did they win the game, they won the game pretty convincingly, not necessarily by score, but they were pretty much in charge of this game from the get-go.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the takeaway for me is, and I've been kind of emphasizing that, is that this wasn't any kind of fluke. They played better than Oregon did down to down for the entire game, right? Oregon had the one big play at the beginning where IU busted a coverage and they had the pick six, and outside of that they scored 6 points. And then for the most part, IU was able to move the ball. They had 3 long touchdown drives of 75 yards. They had a couple of really nice drives. They had a nice drive late in the first half to get into fringe field goal range, and they made the field goal. They were better in all 3 phases. Their success rate, which is a measure of kind of down to down how good you are, IU had a 41% offensive success rate. Oregon was at 25%. They outgained them. Oregon had the biggest play of the game with the pick six. Like, it's one of those things that usually turns a game that's relatively close, and IU won anyway. So it is one of those things where there was a way this game went where IU forced a couple of turnovers and Oregon got in a game state situation and couldn't come back. And it was still like, well, IU won, but were they the better team? Who knows? That was not the way this game went. IU was the better team on that field in Oregon's house, which I don't think I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought it would be a toss-up at best. And IU went out there and did it. They proved everyone wrong, including me.
And the funny thing is, most people were saying, well, if as long as they go out and keep it respectable, they don't get beat too bad and yada, yada. And now, not only did that not happen, they did the beating. And I guess you could say Oregon kept it respectable, which is kind of the shoes on the other foot. But that's the case, and it is legit. There is not a single thing now for any of the national pundits, any of the SEC zealots to say otherwise and it's not just Indiana. It's any of these teams that are not in their ilk, that are not in their bubble per se of what they're used to. Well, guess what? College football is no longer in that bubble. It's over, people. The bubble has burst. Let me say it again. The bubble has burst. You don't know who's going to be good. And I will tell you this. Kurt Cignetti is the reason why Indiana is the way it is. Period. End of story. His brand of coaching, his coaches that he has with him, his system, what he's doing. I don't know that anybody else could have come in and have done what he did, as if I'm speaking proper English, could have done what he did. But you know what I'm saying? I don't know anybody else could have done that, even in this era, because everybody has the same opportunities at other places now, Dylan, and nobody is doing it at the hardest place that it's ever been done at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what I kind of wrote on Monday or on Sunday after the game was that the transfer portal made what Curt Cignetti did possible, right? Like he would not have been able to, even Curt Cignetti would not have been able to do what he did without the transfer portal because he brought in so many guys from James Madison with him, and then used those guys to kind of bring in other people who were interested. That's why Fernando Mendoza is here because they were good last year, right? And so he wouldn't have been able to do what he did without the transfer portal, but he is the only one who has taken the transfer portal to its logical conclusion, which is that you can build a national championship contender with it, and with great evaluation and great attention to detail. And he was able to do it. No one else has been able to do that. The closest thing, and I've kind of been coming back to this, the closest that anyone has come is Florida State in 2023. That now they had a much higher level of high school recruiting, but they still were very, very portal heavy. And they went 13-0 and were one of the best 4 teams in the country that year and got stubbed from the playoff in favor of Alabama because their quarterback got hurt, which is still, to me, a travesty, but we don't need to get into that right now. But that's the closest anyone has come. And that was at Florida State, right? This is Indiana. This is the team that had never even come close to doing this. So, yeah, it is to me the best coaching job we've seen since I've been watching college football, frankly. It is remarkable what he's been able to do. This season is going to be a wild ride now because IU is a genuine top of the table contender in a way that I didn't really think was possible, frankly, and would not have been possible as recently as like 4 years ago.
And I hate to put the cart before the horse, but unless something crazy happens, they're going to the Big Ten championship game, and we're 6 games away, Dylan. We're only halfway through the season, and I can say that with confidence because even if they were to lose to Penn State, they'd have to lose 2 games for that not to happen. And not to say this is not possible. I mean, hey, this is college football.
Well, that's not necessarily true. There are some tiebreaker scenarios. There are other one-loss teams than Oregon, right? Like USC could finish 8-1 in league play. Nebraska could finish 8-1. I'm not sure what the tiebreaker scenarios would be because IU doesn't play either of those teams. So if they lost to Penn State and then there were several 8-1 teams, I'm not sure exactly how that would shake out. But yeah, it certainly it is. They are in the driver's seat right now for a Big Ten championship berth. Like if the season ended today, they would be in. But you got to go win your games, right? Like that is the thing. And that is, we've seen teams all over the country do that over the last couple of years, is they're very, very good and they lose a game they shouldn't. And it hurts them along the way. So IU has proven remarkably remarkable at avoiding that over the last couple of years. That has been one of Cignetti's superpowers, that he gets his team up to play every single game. They're always ready to go. Not
only that, Dylan, but let's talk about something that I always bring up because it's real. This traveling across the country.
Yeah.
Curt Cignetti is now 2 times shown how to go across the country, win your games, get your ass back on the bus, back on the plane, and get back home.
Yeah.
Go to town, kick ass, go home. And that's what they've done. And they've been able to successfully navigate that.
Yeah.
So that's impressive as well. So they're navigating a lot of things here in making this happen. So to go out to Eugene to do that is special because, first of all, they had won 18 straight games. Dan Lanning was 22-1 as the head coach at Oregon. So lots of winning. Lots of teams have come through there and failed, like Ohio State. So what Indiana just did is big time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that is one of Cignetti's superpowers, that he is able to get his team up no matter. It seems like he is able to get his team up to play regardless of who they're playing, which is really impressive. That is not something that every team does. There are teams who are extraordinarily talented, who can beat the best teams in the country, and then they go and they just play an egg every once in a while. Seen it happen several times over the last couple of years. That's why some of those SEC teams last year did not make. Alabama missed the playoff last year because it lost to a 6-6 Oklahoma team. So like it is something that Indiana has been really, really good at, is getting up for everybody and going out there and winning. You got to do it for 6 more games.
How about the fall, not of James Franklin, but of just of Penn State? I mean, you're going from a team that was expected to compete for a national champion, a team that Heather Dinich, who is so anti-IU, it's funny, although she's an IU grad, she picked them to win the national championship.
I picked them. Hand up. I picked them to win the national championship before the season. I thought they were going to.
I'm not getting on.
Yeah.
It's just how it's amazing that you can go from being a team that's being picked to win a national championship to one that's not even going to make a bowl. Well, I guess they'll make a bowl game probably. Possibly.
Well, their next 3 games are at Iowa, Ohio State, and IU, and then they still have to play Nebraska later in the season. They have to win one of those, and right now it doesn't seem like they're a team that is really capable of winning one of those games. Now, maybe under a new coach, under an interim coach who they all seem to like, that Terry Smith is the interim coach. He's been there forever. He's an alumnus. They all seem to like him. Maybe they rally a little bit, right? Maybe they rally around the backup quarterback that's there now that Drew Aller is out for the season, and they go on the road and beat Iowa, and suddenly they look formidable again. Maybe they do that. I don't know. But these last couple of games, they have just looked like a team that is uninterested. They don't want to be there. And it's like the first half against UCLA, it was like, oh, we don't really care about this. In the second half, they made the furious comeback and fell short. And then against Northwestern, it was like, oh, we're done here. And that's like people. I've seen some people kind of shocked that Franklin got fired, considering like how good they've been the last couple of years. But he clearly had lost that team. He got fired for a 3-game losing streak. No. He got fired because the locker room was no longer responding to him. And when that happens, you have to go. You just have to go. And
you cannot ignore 4-21.
That is the thing. Like I understand why they did it. Like there are people nationally who are like, well, they're not going to get anyone better, and he had them in the top 10 every year. Okay, I got it, right? Like I understand the point you're making, but first of all, they were never going to win a national title with him, and that's a program that wants to win national titles and has the resources to do so. And second of all, he lost the locker room. If you have the money to get rid of him at that point, it's time to go. And it's possible that the next coach who they hire will not be as good as James Franklin. It's very possible. They might go 8-4 the next 3 years, but that doesn't mean it was the wrong decision to fire him. It's the same thing you say about IU basketball, right? Like if the guy is not the guy, you move on and then you find someone else. And then if that guy is not the guy, you move on and you find someone else until you find the guy. IU found the guy in football. I'm sure Penn State football can find a guy. So it's one of those things where, he had to go. He lost the locker room, and so maybe the locker room will come back now that he's gone. I don't know, but it was really, really bad there for the last couple of weeks.
No, you don't have Sig gush on players a lot, but Isaiah Jones needs to be gushed on.
Yeah, absolutely.
The entire defensive line that Indiana was able to re-put together, because that to me was their big. I've said this over and over. That was my biggest question mark for this entire team.
The defensive tackles, you lose a draft pick in CJ West, who was fantastic for you. You lose James Carpenter, who was solid as they come, and it's like, okay, that's what's one of the most important positions in football is right up the middle. Especially in the Big Ten, where their teams are going to try to run at you, right up the middle. Okay, how good are you going to be? And they ran Tyreek Tucker and Mario Landino and Hosea Wheeler in there. Haven't missed a beat. And those linebackers are fantastic. And that front seven is nasty. It is really, really good, and had Oregon in real trouble for most of that game. Like they have good players, they are well coached, and there is a great scheme in place. It is really impressive.
Indiana has had 2 games against top 10 teams. They have 13 sacks in those 2 games.
Oh boy.
13.
Oregon had given up one. I keep coming back to this. Oregon had given up 1 sack the entire season. Aiden Fisher by himself had more sacks than Oregon had given up all season.
Yeah. It's just
it's remarkable performance. And a lot of it is A lot of it is really good players, and a lot of it is scheme.
Is it a bigger scare for IU to try to hold on to Kurt Signetti? Not that he's not the most important, the head of the snake, he is. Or Brian Haynes, which is a bigger danger of being taken away? do you think?
I think it's Haynes, because there's certainly places like I'm sure everyone on that staff wants to be a head coach someday, or maybe Brian Haynes is fine being a defensive coordinator. My guess is not. Every one of these guys is a hyper competitive dude. They all want to be head coaches at some point. They all want to run their own show. And like Cignetti, you can just give him an enormous raise and maybe he sticks around, right? Haynes, eventually, you can make him the highest paid coordinator in the country, but is that going to be enough? Because, eventually you want to run your own show. The same with Mike Shanahan, right? We saw that last offseason. Now, you can and should give both of those guys raises, and enormous ones, to get them to stick around again after they gave them enormous raises last offseason. But eventually they're going to want to run their own show. And there's just no way around that. And you just hope that first of all, say Cignetti's eye can for coaching can bring in someone who can do just as well. And hopefully maybe that person is on staff and they've trained someone who can take over for them, because Shanahan and Haynes, to me, Haynes especially, that's the best defensive coordinator in the country. Like, you can say what you want about Jim Knowles, and he was great at Ohio State and all that, and he went to Penn State for $3 million. Okay. Boy, Brian Haynes is really, really good at what he does. He talked a lot. He talked a lot going into that Oregon game. He backed up everything that he said. Really impressive work. And there are going to be some pretty high level programs wanting him to be their head coach this offseason. So we'll see. Even if IU gives him an enormous raise and tries to make him the highest paid coordinator in the country, I don't know if he'll be able to keep him. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there right now, but he's not at the top. I mean,
No.
I know alone the defensive coordinator, ironically, at Penn State, I think is the highest.
He's
paid
the
coordinator.
highest paid coordinator ever in college football. They poached him from Ohio State after he led Ohio State to a national championship, to be fair. And their defense has not been very good this year. And so that's always been kind of the knock on Jim Knowles at Penn State, is that he takes a couple of years to put his system in place. And so he's probably not going to get a second year at Penn State, frankly. So we'll have to see what becomes of him. He's a little bit older. Maybe he just retires. But yeah, even at Ohio State, they hired him in 2022 away from Oklahoma. That 2022 Ohio State team got torched by Michigan in the horseshoe. And then by two years later, they were the best defense in the country. And so it takes a while for him to put his system in place, and Penn State is seeing that this year.
Yeah, and the money that's going to cost Penn State just to get rid of James Franklin and the entire regime is being reported by Todd McShay as being closer to, let's see, where was the number I saw? $105 million.
So it's interesting that, yes, it's a huge number. So the buyout is about $50 million, but the buyout is for James Franklin personally. The buyout is $50 million, but it is spread throughout the life of the contract. So they don't owe him like Jimbo Fisher for Texas A&M. When they fired him and they paid him $76 million, they had to pay him a lot of that up front. Like immediately you owed him a significant chunk of that. James Franklin, the buyout is like you owe him $8 million this year, and then you owe him $8 million next year, and then you owe him $8 million the year after that. And that's not nothing, but it's different than owing him $45 million up front, right? And so they're able to spread that out a little bit. So it's not quite as much as that sticker figure. It's still a ton of money. And then you have to pay a new coaching staff on top of that. And obviously they're going to try and get a coaching staff that's probably going to be among the three to five highest paid in the country. But it is a little bit less, at least, than the sticker price there. Although in the end, it will be, yes, of course, over $100 million.
Crazy money, baby. Crazy money. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette with me. And we're back with plenty more here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after these messages. Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best coverage of Indiana football and basketball, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that you get a full year of access to The Athletic when you sign up? You can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision you ever made.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Jim Coyle with you and joined by Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. We were talking about the massive amount of buyout it's going to cost Penn State. And after firing James Franklin and his entire staff, which would be upwards of $100 million over the lifetime of the deal. But that's not even including paying what you're going to have to pay for a new staff to come in, with buyouts that you're going to have to pay, first of all, for them, then salaries you're going to have to pay for them. This is a $200 million deal overall at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that suggests to me that, like, they're probably going to try to take a big swing here, because
what else why else would you do it?
Right. Why else would you do it? If you're going to fire a coach who, we talked about this, it makes sense that he had to go. But if you fire a coach who won at least 11 games in 3 of the last 4 years or whatever it was, you better have a big swing in mind that you want to take. And so we'll have to see whether that's Matt Rule or somebody else. I don't know. But they should have they probably have a big swing in mind, and we'll see who that ends up being.
Any idea who that might be? I mean, you've got the highest paid defensive coordinator or highest paid coordinator on their staff as it is right now.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Jim Knowles. First of all, I think they're not very happy with him right there. I don't think they would promote from within for this staff. The consensus opinion seems to be it's going to be Matt Rule at Nebraska. Because
I don't get. He has been nothing but successful at Nebraska to me. Every time I see his name, I laugh because I'm like, really? You're going from a guy who has not gotten it done to a guy that has not gotten it done.
Nebraska might be in the playoff this year. Like, they're sitting here at 5. They're sitting here at 5-1. Have you checked their schedule?
Yeah, but
have you looked at their schedule? They haven't beaten anybody, but they might be in the playoff. Like, Nebraska this year is what people tried to pretend Indiana was last year, which was like a team that was just getting by and beating a weak schedule, and that's why they got in. But Nebraska might actually do that this year. They play basically no one except USC the rest of the way. If they beat USC, they're going to go 11-1 and make the playoff. And then, then you're hiring an alumnus who just took a team to the playoff in year 3.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's any way a Penn State fan is going to look at that as someone who took somebody to the playoff just because they did it.
Sure.
That's like saying, well, North Carolina went to the NCAA tournament last year. Well, yeah, they did technically, but they only did because Bubba Cunningham, their athletics director, was the guy getting that done. Sure. Because he had a financial investment involved in it.
Yeah. I would find it odd, because the thing with Matt Rule is a very good program builder. That's what he does. He takes a program that is really struggling and he builds it into a winner. Not a big winner. He's never won a championship or anything, or won a national championship or anything like that, but he takes teams that are really down and makes them much, much better. And that's not what Penn State needs.
Oh, frankly. This might be the best what's the word I'm looking for?
Analogy.
Yeah. Yes. Michael the Music Man says Matt Rule is the Kevin James of the Big Ten. Oh man, hold on. I think I've got where am I? I'm supposed to have stuff for this, ready to go. Where am I? Oh man. Never mind. Go ahead. Missed out on it.
Your sound effects were where's the
Yeah, exactly.
where's the keyboard?
Oh,
but yeah, like that is the name that you've heard bandied about. Look, there you go.
Thank you. No, thank you. Yes, exactly. A little late.
But yeah, Matt Rule is the name that you've seen. I did like that. Like if you're gonna be a DJ, like that's go ahead and do it. You know, like get into the flow of it there, Jim.
Well, I mean, I'm trying, but wasn't quick enough on that one. But that's I just don't get. I just think I see Matt Rule as not having gotten it done. Now, would that be different at a place like Penn State? I don't know. Maybe just new blood. Maybe I don't know. What's Matt Rule known for? To being a defensive coach or offensive coach?
It's been so long since he's the CEO, right? Like that's
it's been so long since he's been good at anything. We don't remember.
Well, no, it's been so long since he was responsible for a side of the ball. Like that's he is an ultimate CEO coach, right? Like he is a guy who is building a program. Like that's where he made his mark. Was it? He made Temple into a winner when they were terrible. He made Baylor into a winner when they had gone 1-11. And he has made Nebraska into a competent team after they were terrible for a decade, right? And so I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't have fired Franklin to hire Matt Rule because that to me just seems like what Franklin did. Like the whole point of James Franklin is that he's a great program builder who is probably not going to get you over the top. Matt Rule seems like the same thing to me, but the difference is that Matt Rule is an alumnus who is really good friends with the athletic director. Like that, maybe that's the difference. You just wanted someone new in there because you were just tired of James Franklin's whole thing. If that's the case, okay. I wouldn't have spent whatever $100 million on firing him to do that, but sometimes you just need a change. The problem is if it's not Matt Rule, I don't know who it would be, frankly. There's not really like if it's not Matt Rule.
How does Penn State not go after Curt Cignetti with?
Well, yes, they will 100% go after Curt.
No, I'm asking. So
like they will. I don't think he'll take it. Like if it's my
I don't either. Here's my thought. It's because I don't think he takes it because he likes doing it where it hasn't been done, where he's been said it can't be done, where it should not be able to be done. I don't know that he has a relationship to Penn State. I know he's from Pittsburgh, but I haven't heard. I mean, he was a West Virginia guy.
Yeah.
Boom, right there. That's backyard brawl, baby. So although the resources, or I should say resources, I liked how people, when they say resources, the resources would be available, would be mind-boggling. They would pay him, but of course, this is a guy who 2 years ago was making $600,000. That's still that's lottery money for you and I. But now he's making $8 and soon to be $10 million, and probably soon to be $12 million. To be honest with you,
like he will like if he stays at IU, he will get another raise this offseason and probably be one of the 3 highest paid coaches in the country. Would be my guess. Like I don't think
he have to be the highest paid coach in the country, and can the highest paid coach in the country be at Indiana?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to. I think probably this offseason ends with Curt Cignetti being one of the 3 highest paid coaches in the country, along with Ryan Day and Kirby Smart. Like I don't know if he ends up getting beyond those guys. He probably gets to par with those guys, whether he stays at Indiana or goes to Penn State. Either way. But here's what I will say about the he wants to do it where it's never been done. The problem with that is that he's already made this move, right? Like the move from Indiana to Penn State, he already did that when he went from Elon to James Madison. Like Elon was the Indiana of that conference and James Madison was the Penn State. And he already made that move. So he is a climber. And maybe he's decided this is as high as he wants to climb, and he can get to as high as you can go at Indiana. Like maybe he's decided he can win at the highest level here. But that's not necessarily the case. He might look at Penn State and say, look, I'm 64 years old. He's going to be 65 soon. If he wants to win a national championship and do it before he's 70, maybe Penn State is a better option. I don't know. I don't know what's in his mind. I don't know what his priorities are. But it is. I think it's notable to say that when he was at Elon and he was building Elon from a team that was nothing to a contender in that conference, he went and beat James Madison, and then James Madison was like, "Hey, why don't you just come be our coach because we're the big dog in this conference?" And he was like, "Okay." And I think that's notable. I think that is something that should be at least considered, is that like he wants to be at the highest level possible, and maybe he thinks he can get to the highest level possible at Indiana. I don't know if that's the case, but it's something to monitor for sure.
Can you imagine the fact that we could put out a poll that would be legit and say, is Indiana more likely to win a national championship in basketball or football first?
Yeah, it is a genuine question. Like I don't know the answer to it, because this team this year genuinely could do it. It is not outside the realm of possible. I think it's obviously still a long shot, but I think this team has the capability to do it just because of the amount of veteran talent they have on that team. It is a really, really well put together team.
Absolutely. And not only that, they have a squad that is it covers each position group.
Yeah.
And so we've seen that they can go into environments like Iowa and Oregon and win. So they won't have to worry about that if they were to make the playoffs. It would be
well, I mean, at this point, they might have a home game in the playoffs. They
shouldn't be playing in the first round. That's more than likely.
That's true.
If they make it to the Big Ten championship game because they're undefeated, they're going to. I think they get a top 4 seed.
Yeah, I guess that would be the question: is where does IU slide if they go 12-0 and lose to Ohio State in the title game? Where would
I think that they get the top 4 seed because that is what was being talked about with Oregon.
Yeah, probably. It would be. I would be hard pressed to think of who are going to be the because it would have to be 4 teams above you if you assume Ohio State is 1 and the SEC champion is another 1. Who are the other 2 teams that are going to be above you? I would be hard pressed to think of them, unless if Miami goes undefeated, that's probably one of them, and then it would be a toss up between IU and whoever loses the SEC championship game, probably. Maybe Texas Tech goes undefeated. I don't know. Well, we'd have to see.
We'll find out. College basketball preseason polls out, but we've seen what preseason polls mean in football, especially. Not as much for basketball. You have a little bit better understanding of what a team has, but you still don't know how good they're going to be, how well they're going to play. So preseason polls, you can take them with a grain of salt, but Purdue comes out on top. As no shock. It's just that's the easy thing to do, is to put Purdue up there because you know what they have. You don't really know what everybody else has.
Yeah, I mean, they return as much production as anyone in the country. They return 2 guys one guy who wasn't All-American last year, one guy who probably should have been. It was snubbed. And so that is a foundation on which to build, and you have the core 3 there, and then you bring in that's what is kind of what makes Purdue so interesting this year to me, is that they return a core group of 4 starters, and then they added several Big Ten starter level players onto their roster. I think that Omer Mayer would start on a lot of Big Ten teams. I think their freshman, who hasn't been talked about a ton, Anton West, I think he would start on a lot of Big Ten teams. Jack Benter is going to be a problem for them this year. Kid they got from North Florida, Liam Murphy, is 6'8" and probably going to shoot 45% from 3. And then you bring back Daniel Jacobson, who did start for them last season and then got hurt in the second game of the year. He's back. You bring in Oscar Clough, who was the leading rebounder in the country last year. It's a lot of talent to add to a team that was already really good. I think that is kind of why Purdue makes sense. I voted them number 1 in the preseason. Significant pieces to an already really good team. And so, they fixed what seemed to be their biggest problem last year, which was the lack of size, right? They didn't have a guy who could protect the rim or rebound consistently. And so they brought back Jacobson, who's 7. They brought in Clough, who's a really good rebounder, and so that's fixed. And so we'll have to see whether that ends up putting them over the top, because they are as talented as anyone in the country.
Certainly added some pieces, and adding the right pieces with that kid from Israel. Man, he is supposedly the real deal.
Yeah, and he might not even start for them, is the thing. Like, he's very, like, I've seen him in practice. He's very, very good. He is absolutely worth all the hype. I don't think he's going to start for them. He's going to come off the bench, and they're going to have to find minutes for him, because they have 3 guards returning who started for a Sweet 16 team last year, who they all think are very, very good. Like, he's going to have to take minutes from CJ Cox and Jakari Harris, both of whom they think are extremely good players. And so he is going to have to earn every minute he gets. I think he will. And the most impressive thing to me about him is how physically ready he is. Like, he is a big, big guy for an 18-year-old. And he is not going to need to talk about adjustment to the college game, or just how quickly he can kind of carve out a role in that backcourt rotation for them.
We'll see if this is the team that Matt Painter can take to the national championship, because a lot of pressure on in West Lafayette for that with this team, because it's just kind of seems like everything has been gearing in this direction. This is kind of like the last run with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those things where it seems like Painter does this every couple of years, right? And they have a team where it's like, oh, this is the team. If they don't get it done this year, well, then it might be a little bit. And then they come back a couple of years later, and there's an even better team. And like, yeah, you're not going to keep getting guys as good as Braden Smith and Zach Edey every year, because those are National Player of the Year level players. You're not going to have a guy on the team like that every single year, more than likely. But I will say, even after Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer and Drake Kaufman leave, they're set up pretty well for the future too. Like, that's what makes Matt Painter so good, is in there, fit what they do, and they just kind of roll out the ball every year with a new group of dudes, and it just seems to work. He's really, really good at finding guys that fit what he does, and he has the role right now there.
Yeah, well, we'll certainly find out. But then you've got Michigan that's going to be there, and with their recruiting, what they've been able to pull in, man, they're going to be right there. I don't know who I picked Michigan to win it, to win the Big Ten at least, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a top 10 team in the preseason. I think they're 7th in the poll. They brought in some really important pieces this offseason. The kid Yaxel from UAB, I think, like 6'8" point guard. He is a guy who they're really, really excited about, and could be is being talked about as a Big Ten Player of the Year level player. So we'll have to see with Michigan. I think the Big Ten is actually relatively deep this year. The SEC and the depth of the Big 12. I think the Big Ten is really deep this year. I think you have Purdue, and Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin. I think is going to be there. I think Indiana is going to be pretty good. I think Iowa is going to be pretty good with the column there. I think Minnesota might be better than you expect, bringing in Nico Bedved, who made some interesting additions. So UCLA, I think, I think they're 12th in the preseason poll. They brought in Donovan Dent from New Mexico, who's a terrific player. So the Big Ten has some depth this year. I think it's going to be 10. You're going to make the tournament, because that is a gauntlet you're going to have to get through.
Yeah, and I have no idea where to slot Indiana right now, because they are a complete unknown as far as where they fit in this conference. It's not. I know what they have talent-wise. We know what to expect, but where they end up, that is an unknown.
Yeah, if you told me that before the season that they're going to finish 8th or 9th, I wouldn't be shocked by that. And I also think that'd be a pretty good result, because first of all, that would get you in the NCAA tournament, I think, almost without question. And I think for a team that has so many new pieces, to be able to survive that gauntlet and go 11-9 or 10-10 in league play, I would be perfectly happy to take that result right now. And I think you get in the tournament as an 8 or 9 seed, and maybe see if you can win a game or two. And I think that would be a pretty good result for year one under Darren DeVries, especially considering that they had no one back when he took over the roster.
We'll certainly find out. Appreciate you, sir.
Absolutely, Jim. Always glad to be on. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you, brother. Hey, lots more coming up. Cal Neddenriep joins us, as well as Zach Browning later. Here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, we're back with more after these messages.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in get up housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-70 Sizemore. Sell or find your new home today.
When it comes to apparel and promotions, FreeThink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 or groups. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. FreeThink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what FreeThink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy store or shop online at academy.com to find these and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy stores across Indiana, including our Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burger. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. I hope all is going well for you and your week is going well. You've made it to the midway point. I hope you're having fun and ready for the weekend as Indiana back home this weekend, and plenty of high school action going on. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star joins me now. Kyle,
doing well, Jim. How are you?
Good. Well, just got back from Oregon along a trip out there, but now we're in week 9 of the high school football season?
Yes, sir. Last week of the regular season, and the sectional draw is in the books, and we'll be, it's go time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and looking forward to that. So what, as we get towards the end of the year, it doesn't have an effect on the postseason itself. So what are you looking forward to?
I mean, I'm actually doing kind of a different story this weekend on kind of going behind the scenes with the team, and on Friday night. It should be fun. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to, I think everybody at this point, at least I feel this way, you're kind of, for a lot of teams, it's can we finish out not a lot of teams, but there's some teams trying to finish out an undefeated regular season, which is certainly meaningful. Some teams trying to wrap up conference titles or gain a share of a conference title, which is certainly meaningful as well. But yeah, I mean, but I think for a lot of teams too, you're just trying to get healthy. So you may have people, if you don't know if a guy can go or not, you're probably going to sit him out, and try to, get them healthy. Or if they have been sitting out, you may not want to risk, putting them back in for this last regular season game, because the whole point is to try to make a run, once the tournament starts. So, I think there are a lot of teams. I mean, it feels like there's more teams than ever kind of battling key injuries to skill position players. Not everybody, and not everybody's hurt by any means, but there are definitely some key players out who have been out, who, teams may get back or may not. Nolan Reese from Center Grove was one who, leading rusher the first 3 weeks, and then he's out. Eric Moore said Friday he thinks he might be back this week, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely teams trying to finish out a special season. Crown Point's going for their 4th consecutive undefeated regular season excuse me, against Michigan City, which is very cool, and kind of shows where their program has gone. You got Center. One of the big games I'm interested in is actually in Bloomington South plays Center Grove on Friday night. That's an old rivalry that those teams haven't played a lot in the last 20 years or so, but really interesting game. Bloomington South is ranked second in 5A. Really explosive offense. Center Grove scores a 6A power going down there to play. So I will be intrigued with that outcome on Friday night. But other than that, I mean, there are some good games on Friday, but to be honest with you, I think everybody's kind of it's a fun Friday night of football, but everybody's kind of looking at what's after that for probably a large majority of people.
Well, a lot of people can that'll be in town for the Indiana football can just do a double header, do a Friday, Saturday deal, high school and some college action as Indiana hosts Michigan State this weekend on Saturday. So that'll be and I know people like D'Angelo Pond's dad. He's going to high school games. He'll come in for a home game. He'll find a high school game to go to.
Yeah, I get texts or emails from people all the time saying, "Hey, what's a good game to watch this weekend or whatever?" They may be in town for whatever reason, not necessarily always college game, but just looking for something to do. And so that would be a great one to go to if you're you'd be done by. The game starts at 7, you're done by 9 or so, 9:30, and then you can do whatever else for the rest of your night. But that would be a good one to hit. I think that'll be a good game. There's some intrigue, I think, because, like I said, these teams haven't played in a long time. It's a different type of game. It's just a different game on the schedule. We haven't seen a lot in recent years. So I'll be curious on that one to see how it comes out. Warren Central Cathedral is another one. Warren plays at home against Cathedral on Friday. That's another good game. We used to see this game, I think, back probably 2010 to 14 or so. They played every year, and then they hadn't played again until last year. So that's been a very competitive series when they have played, and I think will be a good game on Friday night as well at Warren.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're talking about high school players taking off for games, but that's where the sport has gotten to as far as coaches being smarter with play and saving your guys for when you're really going to need them. But that's even trickled down from the college level to the high school level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's you're not going to sit a healthy kid necessarily, but if there's any question, or any nagging injury type of thing, I just don't know that you want to risk putting them out there. And also it kind of helps your depth sometimes when you're able to, and you see it a lot during the season, like, you could probably run a kid 20 times or 25 times a night, but you don't want to do that just because what's that going to do to his mileage once we get to the real game, So you do see schools, especially at the 6A level, and it's not all the time, there are kids who get, like Jaden Biggerstaff of Center Grove last week. He was coming off an injury. He ended up carrying 34 times against Lawrence North, but he had 249 yards, and they've been running through running backs like crazy this year. And he steps up and takes advantage of his chance. And so you do see higher carries sometimes, but I think a lot of coaches are like, man, if we can use, Brownsburg has 3 different running backs that are all equally good, and they use them all, relatively equally, and it kind of keeps everybody fresh, and it gives you a different look. And if you can do that, and you have talented players like that, you might as well use them. Decatur Central is the same way. They've got so many guys who share the wealth, and I think that helped them last year when they got to the tournament. It's not just 1 or 2 guys. They have 5 or 6 guys who carry the ball relatively equally. So I think that philosophy, is something that is maybe a little bit different than it was 10 or 20 years ago.
Well, that plus you're getting guys ready. You never know when the next guy up that we hear all the time is going to become a reality. And these are guys that are going to be playing next year for a lot of these good.
Yeah, I mean, it's only a good thing, I think. And then once you get down to and a lot of times you'll see too, like once we get down to these sectional games and beyond, some of your best players are going to play both ways if they're not already. For example, like Deacon King at Westfield last year, and this year, he's a defensive and offensive player, but you may not have him out there every play on defense in the regular season. You probably will if it's a game you have to win. And we've, there's been a lot of players like that over the years. Even the very top, the very top of 6A. Some of those guys will play both ways when it comes down to it, just because you want your best athletes out there. Like, a quarterback or running back will play safety, or, cornerback, or, Mark Zachary, for instance, last year, he's a guy that, played both ways. And if you can get those special athletes on the field, I think that's what you're probably going to want to do if you have to win the game. So that's not unusual either, is, playing those guys both ways once it's a do or die situation.
Absolutely. And as we get closer and closer to the playoffs, has teams maintained some separation, or do you still have intrigue at the top for some of these divisions, I guess I should say?
Yeah, I do. I think there's a clear favorite in the South, in the North, in 6A. I think Brownsburg in the South and Carmel in the North are pretty clear. I mean, you could argue Crown Point. You could argue Center Grove in the South. You could argue Westfield in the North because of what they've done. You could argue Lawrence North in the South, just because their offense is so dynamic and they can score on anybody. My question would be, if they run into Brownsburg, can they stop Brownsburg from doing whatever they want on offense? So that would be my question about them. Not as strong defensively. They lost so much talent from that side of the ball last year. So, but I think it's the fun part of 6A is, there are only a handful of teams, I think, that can actually go and win the title. But there, among those teams, there is some balance and some question going into these games. Like, even with Carmel, as good as they've been, we haven't seen them, get to a place where, they have used to be. They haven't been a sectional champion even in 5 years, which is really kind of shocking when you think about it. But they're a traditional power that just hasn't been where they have been. So there is some question how they play in a game, if they play Westfield again, or in their sectional. And now I'm not remembering who they'll have. I think they play Harrison out of West Lafayette first, and then would probably play Westfield in the championship game, is how it works out. So, once they get to that game, how will they fare? We don't know that for sure. They've been so good, though. I kind of think they're, the favorite in the North. But yeah, in the other classes, man, I mean, if anybody beats New Pal, I mean, it's going to be some type of performance, because that's New Pal's been one of the most dominant teams in state history this year. I mean, they're just rolling everybody. But the one thing too with them, it's like how Cathedral could see them in the championship game of the sectional, and that could be a state title game, really. So that will be fun. 4A, I think, is, Chittard looks like the best team, but I think there's some teams out there that could give them a game for sure, including Heritage Hills on the south side of the bracket, including South Bend St. Joseph having a great year. Roncalli will still be tough in the sectionals. 4A is a good class. 3A is loaded, man. It's 3A's got, Evansville Memorial's been great, but they will have to be Gibson Southern in the sectional, which teams are 1 and 2 in the state. So, that will be a lot of fun. Cascade's having a great year. So you go on down, and there are some definite favorites, but I think some teams that have a legitimate shot to get there as well, who maybe aren't the favorites that you always talk about.
Yeah, it's been amazing to watch these all play out. And is there a more balance this year between the North and the South?
In 6A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually in the Indianapolis area without question. But outside of those divisions, I guess, is it most of the 6A teams the usually around the Indianapolis area?
Yeah, although to your point, I mean, the North has been traditionally been weaker. Just even the, partly because Carmel hasn't been quite as good here lately, and also the South is just more of the Indianapolis area 6A teams are in the South, so that kind of creates a different weight of power, I would say, because of that. But if you look at it, and I think this has kind of been changing kind of created more balance. They haven't been able to break through and win a 6A title, but they've been close to doing it. So that's helped shift things a bit in the North. And then I think Carmel, obviously, this year is going to shift it even more. Fishers is really good. They're in the North. I think Fort Wayne Carroll's pretty good. They're gonna be a factor, I think, this year. And they're only 5-3, but they've been ramping up their schedule to play some tougher teams. So they're another team to look out for. And then I mentioned Crown Point already. So there is, I think, and Penn. Penn, we don't know. They're 8-0. They haven't really played a lot of teams that we can compare against, but they're having a good year also. So there is, I think, a little bit more balance. The one class that has been really lopsided is 4A. Once you get to the state championship, the South representative has really dominated the North, and I don't know if that will change this year or not. East Noble in the North is good again. Leo, Mishawaka, some of those teams, but man, the South team has just been really much stronger. I can't remember the exact number, but I think the South representative in 4A has won like 17 of the last 20 or something like that. So that class has been a little bit more lopsided than the others.
Well, it's fun to see because you've got the pockets of communities, whether it's Evansville or Fort Wayne, that always has good programs, and it brings the state. It's great to see the competition in the from across the state.
Yeah, and I think the class that's really interesting this year is 1A. I know we don't talk a lot about 1A, but there is so much balance. That number one spot is shifted like every week almost. And the rankings that I put together and I get from our writers around the state put those together on Monday. It's USA Today Network Indiana State Poll, and it's shifted almost. I think maybe this week was the only week it had in Springs Valley. The home of Larry Bird there is on top this week. They're 8-0 and they're number one. But there's a lot of Providence, the defending champs. They've been getting a lot of votes. They're ranked 4th. North Judson, which has been a powerhouse team in the North, is 2nd, and North Decatur, which has been really good as well. They've been won at different times. A lot of different teams, which I think is fun. I think that'll be. Sometimes you see 1A kind of get dominated by one team, but that doesn't seem to be the case this year.
Well, it's always fun to see, man. What's up next for you?
A lot. We got a lot going on right now. It's a busy time. I'll be doing some other sectional draw stuff here this week, but you ended up writing about David Bell today, last night, who retired from football. Such a great player that I really enjoyed covering for 4 years, basketball and football. So wrote a little bit about him. You can check that out. That's out now. Kai McGrew got eligibility at Fisher. That's another story that's just came out last night. His eligibility was overturned. And among other things, those stories came out yesterday, and then a lot of other football content to come.
Make sure you're keeping up with Cal Neddenriep. He's got tons of it. Appreciate you, sir.
All right, Jim, take care.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got more to come here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Zach Browning yet to join us. And I'm looking at the college AP poll tracker. There are 3 voters that voted Indiana number 1 this week. One of those, Stephen Means from the Cleveland.com. I guess that's the name of it. Cleveland.com. I guess that's the name of that one. It's not the Cleveland Plain Dealer. But anyway, he's one of 3. It's just amazing. I'm sitting here looking at this poll, and it's a football poll. And Indiana sitting in the number 1 slot over top of Ohio State. Just to look at that is wild. Wild and wacky stuff, man. Hey, we've got lots more coming up. Thanks a lot for being with us. Back with more.
The ISB Sports Network is your home for sports content across the Hoosier State. Find us live on TV and streaming or archived on our website and our app. Shop for the content you want to see, including high school sports, college sports, and other great events throughout the year. Subscribe to our streaming service and get access to it all. ISC, local lives here.
Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, Brick and Ivy Realty, Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at Cheryl.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Apparel and Promotions, Free Think has you covered, literally, whether it's 2 dozen or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Free Think Apparel and Promotions can also create. Free Think Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you, whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what's for you at freethinkapparel.com. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Hope you're doing well. In the midst of James Franklin's firing at Penn State now looking at having one of the best recruiting classes in the country, if not the best. But now they're seeing those guys go by the wayside as guys like Kim on Spell said Friday night he wasn't fully committed to Penn State any longer. And then Franklin got fired on Sunday. So the 2027 standout from McKeesport, Pennsylvania, reopened up his recruitment completely. Georgia's been an aggressor there, and you have all the normal names, the usual suspects, but they have tons of guys that are available for the pickings, I guess you'd say, and they will be going after them, especially when you don't know who the coach is going to be. But none of that matters at the moment unless they sign with somebody, because it's just everything is always fluid in this. I should call it this business now, because it is just that. It's a business now, and it is that. So we'll see how that falls out for Penn State. Do they just lose a coach, or do they lose their recruits? Don't feel sorry for Penn State. It's not like they're going to go away. They have what they have, and that is a program that is built from the bottom up. Now they're going to have to rebuild it. They've got to have the right guy. I mean, if you've seen anything in college football, you see that you've got to have the right coaches. Look at Indiana. I mean, Kurt Cignetti's making life rough on a lot of guys right now, to be honest with you. He's taken Indiana to the upper levels, and he's done it with players that are not 5 stars. There's not a single 5-star player on that team still. And yet they're being mentioned in the same breath with teams full of those types of players. So is that a better way to go, though, than the opposite? Would you rather have a team that's full, and I know on the level of it, you're going to say, well, of course, give me the 5 stars, give me the top level talent. Or would you rather have a team that's put together like Indiana is currently put together, with guys that are maybe not quite as talented to start, but are built that way, that are developed to be that way? I don't know. It seems like they have more pride. It seems like they play a little harder. Maybe not. Just a curiosity question. Michigan State comes to Bloomington on Saturday, and after playing a game like you do on the road at Ohio State, this is kind of where you let your guard down, because now you start hearing about how good you are, really. I don't think Kurt Signetti allows that kind of talk. But Kurt Signetti cannot control everything that's being said, being done, how it's being taken in. Although, just to the point that I was just talking about, I think that these players are those types of players that have that chip on their shoulder virtually all the time. So they're always playing like that. Now they have an opportunity to bring to fruition all this talk that has happened in such a short span. But they have to keep their heads on. They have to continue to play as the underdog. Indiana has to continue to play as the unrecognized. Indiana has to continue to play as the overachiever. They have to keep doing that. They have to keep that mindset. Otherwise, you let complacency sneak in, and that's one of the things that Signetti talks about a lot. You've got to remain hungry and humble. Well, this is the time where Indiana's probably been challenged with that more than ever under Kurt Signetti, which has only been a year and a half. But they haven't really been challenged for that yet, because they all of last season, even though with all that they did, they were still labeled as, oh, well, they're just beating easy teams. Well, now they've beaten the top 10 Illinois like they stole something. They went to Iowa and won. Then they went to Oregon and left no doubt. Is Indiana the best team in the country? Maybe. I don't know that they're not. No one knows that they're not. We'll find out if they're able to make it through these next 6 games unscathed and can get to Indianapolis to play the Big Ten championship. Can we see a 12-0 undefeated regular season by this Indiana team? It's very likely. To say that is crazy, but it is likely. You've got 3 road games. That'll all be challenging. Maryland is a challenging team. Penn State is still a tough environment, and we don't know what they're going to be like 4 games from now after they have a new coach in place. We saw what happened with UCLA. UCLA has rebounded in an unbelievable way. They've looked the best that we've seen them in years. Immediately upon the coaching change. So, and they're coming to Bloomington, by the way. And then you've got to go up to West Lafayette. And Purdue has been playing pretty well. And they're gonna give it all they have in that game, because they may have everything on the line that day. The home game, non-losing season. So they're going to be challenged. They are going to be challenged without question. But it's going to be challenged mentally more than physically, because they're the best team on the schedule that they play. I mean, they're going to be favored in every game, home or away. It doesn't matter. But we're not talking about being the best team on the field. We're talking about being the best team mentally. They've got to keep their heads the rest of the season. Jason pointing out that Pat Kraft made a statement on the firing of James Franklin that Kraft said while the three-game losing skid to Oregon, UCLA, and Northwestern weighed in on his decision to fire Franklin, it wasn't the sole reason for his decision. I weigh everything when I make a decision. The PhD nerd in me is like, I do data. I do analysis. I do analytics. I look at everything. And when you start to look at where you're going, and yes, no, this year has been playing out, all of those things have to be taken into consideration, Kraft said. We're all humans. James Franklin's a human being. It's a job he loved, and people can say what they want about James, but James, it's a small world you have when we're all friends, and so you cannot make decisions of this magnitude lightly. So to say, oh, we lost to Oregon, then we lost to UCLA, no, it's about where we are as a program. Where are we going? How do I give my student athletes the best chance to win? Yada, yada. Okay. Yada, yada. How do I continue to build this as a place where blah, 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 blah? Come on. Penn State coach must be able to win. That's what I wonder about Dabo Sweeney. Can he win in the NIL era? It's not been good for him so far. And here we see another coach that is used to coaching in an era where they were dominant because they were able to get the dominant players. It's not always the case of where you are now. Someone should have just asked him, as a former Indiana football player, that's Pat Kraft, the AD at Penn State, will you be going after Indiana's football coach? And the thing is, they have to go after a coach now. So there are going to be back channeling that's going on with whomever it ends up being now. Who will that be? Not sure. Will they reach out to Signetti? I would be shocked if they're not, if they don't. Would you not be? Would you be guilty of negligence if you didn't? I believe so. I think you would be. You have to. Can Penn State make an offer that he can't refuse? And I'm talking about Curt Signetti. While there is no Penn State relations to my knowledge, still Pennsylvania. It's the spot in the state, man. It's where eyes turn. But then again, eyes turn to Curt Signetti. Would it be too hard to pass up? Would it not be easier to win a national championship at a place like Penn State than Indiana? Then again, I've said it over and over. I do. The one thing about Signetti is I think that he loves doing it where it hasn't been done. He loves doing it where he's been told it can't be done, where everyone has said that it can't be done. He's doing the undoable. It's doable at Penn State. It's been done at Penn State. It just hasn't been done in a long time, though. It should be done at Penn State. It's supposed to be done there. Every time we think that this is going to happen, this won't happen, it does happen. So, yeah, I think that's something for Indiana fans to fear, because to my knowledge, 6 buyout is only $1 million, which I don't understand that, if that is correct. I would think that if I'm signing to that much of a long-range deal, that I make that, the buyout. But I'm not in that business end of things. I don't know how you can make it happen, but Indiana should have done everything they can. Well, $10 million is nothing then compared to paying what they're paying. Yeah, $10 million is a drop in the bucket in football. When you talk about a program like Penn State, probably make that in 2 home games. Very, very easily. So it's going to be, then again, how does this work with Indiana having what is likely to be a season extending, or an extended season, because of the playoffs, because of all of that? Penn State's going to want to get their coach in place as soon as possible. I would think it would be difficult because of that in and of itself. But hey, you never know. You never know. Brian says Penn State is about to spend upwards of $100 million on this firing. Well, yeah. We talked about that earlier. That's what it's going to be. It's we're talking big time money, man. Somebody should just throw $1 million in here. It's no big deal. Just like drop it off the table as if it never existed. Just boom. $1 million could drop off the table of all this stuff we're talking about, and no one would ever even notice. I would love to have it. Kraft is making no bones about what he expects from the next coach, who will be determined after a national, who will be determined after a national search. The next coach must maximize elite level resources, attack the transfer portal, and develop talent at the highest level. He adds that he wants someone who can retain talent, honor Penn State tradition, who isn't afraid to evolve. Kraft describes the football program as backbone, adding that we have invested at the highest level in the team, meaning expectations must match the investment. A new leader can help us lead a national championship. Kraft opens the news conference by thanking Franklin for his time leading the program, adding that he wishes them nothing but success moving forward, of course. Well, it's a big job that's open. And there's only one name that will fill this. But we're going to take a break. Back with more. Zach Browning should join us on the other side. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Andy Moore
right
Honda
after
is
these
Bloomington's
messages.
#1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9 for 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best vehicle. If you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. 0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Huddle up, football fans. Tailgate season is here, and nobody gets you ready for game day like Academy Sports and Outdoors. Swing by your local Academy.com to find everything you need, from grills to jerseys and more. Be a watch party legend with gear from top brands like Nike and Under Armour, all at unbeatable prices every day. With 8 Academy Bloomington location, fun can't lose, and neither can you. Gear up today at Academy Sports and Outdoors.
Zach Browning here to tell you about an offer you simply can't pass up. If you're looking for the best, which includes recruiting, weekly chats, podcasts, as well as access to the best national team out there, then look no further than thehoosier.com. The best part, it's just $1 for the first week. Oh, and did I mention that when you sign up, you can't beat the coverage and you can't beat the deal. So head over to thehoosier.com today and sign up for just $1. It'll be the best decision.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along. Zach Browning joins us now from thehoosier.com. Zach, you keep talking while I do something here, but how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Jim. You know, Wednesday, it's October. It's not 40 degrees yet here in Bloomington in October, which is kind of weird. This might be a shorts-wearing Halloween type of situation we got going on this year. It's kind of interesting in that sense. Obviously, Indiana football is rolling. They're 6-0. Indiana basketball starts this kind of exhibition slate. It's an earlier exhibition slate this year than it was or has been really for the last couple of years for IU. Obviously, IU getting Marion this Friday. Michigan State on Saturday. It's homecoming. I'm curious to know how many watching are coming back into town for homecoming this weekend. I mean, I think it'll be a pretty sizable crowd. I know that there is going to be a lot of fan interest in Indiana. Obviously, I think the last home game was Illinois, and that was September 21st or something like that. It's been almost a month since Indiana has been home for a football game, so I think this will be an interesting contest. I think this will be an interesting crowd. I think we're going to see a lot of people that have been restless a little bit and haven't necessarily been able to go out and watch an IU football game in a while. So I think it'll be interesting to see the crowd, the turnout, the kind of rambunctiousness of said crowd. I think it'll be a really, really good turnout for this homecoming game. I'm not sure what Jim wants me to keep talking about.
Oh, my bad. I didn't have my stuff added back in there. But,
no problem.
Just a huge win coming off of this past weekend out in Oregon as Indiana travels to knock off the number 3 Oregon Ducks and just pretty much stick their foot right in the college football national champion talk, which, that's amazing. Even though we keep talking about how this is amazing, that is amazing, it never ceases to amaze us.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you would have said it even at the beginning of the year that IU probably would go into Oregon and would come out of this, at least Illinois, Iowa, and Oregon stretch 3-0 and 6-0 on the season, I'm not sure how many people would have agreed or believed you. Entering the year, a lot of the conversation was maybe the ceiling for IU is 10-2 with 2 losses on the road to Oregon and to Penn State. And now the talk about IU is 12-0, a berth in the Big Ten Championship, potentially the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoff if you beat Ohio State, who is the presumed team that Indiana would have to play in the Big Ten Championship. So it's crazy the difference that not only 22 months can make since Kirsten was hired, but the difference, 3-4 months can make since the beginning of the 2025 season. I think there was some concern from Indiana fans, from people. Yes, they believed in Kirsten. Yes, they believed in Indiana. But still, these are Indiana fans that saw that 2021 season. These are fans that probably had a little bit of that 2021 season in the back of their mind heading into this year. And Kirsten and this Indiana team have done everything in their power to not only dispel the fact that these are the 2021 Hoosiers, because they simply aren't. We've seen that so far in the football field. They're 6-0. the number 3 team in the country, but also the fact that this team is here to stay, and this team isn't a one-hit wonder. This team isn't going to have a good couple of seasons. This is a team that year in and year out will not only compete for college football playoff appearances, because that's very different than competing for actually college football national championships, and that's what this team looks like it's capable of doing. It doesn't look like a team that is going to sneak into the college football playoff as a 9, 10, 11, or 12 seed and be a double-digit 2-touchdown underdog in the first round game that they play on the road somewhere in some 100,000-seat SEC stadium or in South Bend or something like that. This is a team that, at this point, Jim, and quite honestly, is more likely to host a first-round game or have a first-round bye than it is to go on the road somewhere in the first round, which is crazy to think about from where Indiana football was 22 months ago.
Yes, a first-round bye is a very, very possible for this team if they can continue on. If they roll on to a 12-0 finish to the regular season, which would put them in the Big Ten championship game against presumably Ohio State, that would also presumably give them a bye, because that's all the talk that you heard when it was Oregon. Now, does that talk remain when it's Indiana and not a big-time brand like Oregon? That will be yet to be seen, because I would be surprised if there are not a number of people who try to change that narrative, since it's not Oregon or one of the big brand schools. But we'll have to see that play out.
Yeah, it's interesting if we look at the situations in the college football playoff. Obviously, the top 4 conference championships get those automatic bids into the playoff, but then it's straight seeded from there. So those top 4 power conference champions don't necessarily sit 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the rankings this year. They're straight seeding it this year. So something that's different, if I'm thinking out loud here, the winner of the Big Ten, whether that, and it looks most likely right now that that's going to be Ohio State or Big Ten, the winner seed, Miami looks like it's going to be the number 2 overall seed. You'd presume that the SEC champion, which looks like it could be Ole Miss, maybe Texas A&M, whoever wins that conference championship will likely be the 3 seed. Then if Texas Tech runs the table in the Big 12 and they're an undefeated conference champion, you probably have to give the 4 seed to Texas Tech. So if Indiana loses the conference championship, should they play in it, against Ohio State, I'd probably assume the 5 seed for Indiana, which would be hosting a Memphis or USF or somebody that sneaks in at that 12 seed. If Indiana loses the conference championship and Texas Tech also loses the conference championship, you could probably see Indiana as the 4 seed sneaking into that last bye. But then the conversation comes up, would you rather have the 4 seed or the 5 seed? Because if you're the 4 seed, you're off for 21 days with those 3 weeks of off weeks until you play the 5 seed, which is still going to be, you play the winner of the 5-12 matchup as the 4 seed. So it comes into a play where, would you rather have 3 weeks off as the 4 seed, or would you rather be the 5 seed and play that first round game, host that first round game against the 12 seed, and then go on to the quarterfinals to play the 4 seed? So it kind of gets a little bit hairy there, a little bit kind of complicated there. But I'd say Indiana is, at this point, more likely to get a bye than not get a bye, if that makes sense in the college football playoff. It's complicated. It's still a lot of stuff to play out, but that's where we're sitting right now.
And the mere fact that we're having that conversation is mind-boggling, but it is a reality. When last year, Indiana fans were just going bonkers over what was going on, and now it is even continuing to, the bar is being raised somehow. I don't know how, but it continues to rise. And now Indiana is a team that has looked to not only get one of those buys, but to compete for a national championship. And a year ago, that was not even a thought, but now it is. And I've got to say that, man, I didn't see this coming. I knew that Indiana was a better team and going to be a better team, but I didn't realize that they were going to be one of the best. And as we continue to see college football leveled out at the top, and with Penn State's problems and with Indiana going to Oregon and with the SEC not really having an elite team, just a bunch of good ones. Maybe the Big Ten is like that too, and Indiana is the best of the Big Ten. We just don't know that yet.
Yeah, it's not an overstatement to say that Cincinnati and Indiana have completely flipped what college football is, because this is not something that would have happened in years past in college football. There wouldn't have been, sure, there was some seasons where you'd have a program come out of nowhere and have a really, really strong season like Indiana did last year. But none of that was ever really sustainable. This looks sustainable for Indiana. And you talk about not really being the expectation coming into the year. Internally, it probably was, but externally, I know I predicted 10-2 this year for IU with 2 losses to Oregon and Penn State on the road. I think a lot of people were around that 9-3, some even on the 8-4 mark, but 8-4 to 10-2, I think was the prediction. And now Indiana's staring down the barrel of what they control their own destiny, being a 12-0 season. They control their own destiny. They're probably going to be double-digit favorites in every single regular season game they play the rest of the year, which is bonkers to me. And I think what stands out is entering the season, people thought Fernando Mendoza would be good. I don't think people thought Fernando Mendoza would be second or third, one of the top 3 players in Heisman voting through 6 weeks of the college football season, through 6 games for IU. Defensively, last season's defense was good. Everybody knows that. Everybody saw that. Last season's defense was really good. Even in those games against Ohio State and Notre Dame, the defense outperformed the offense in those games. But this season's defense is spectacular. This legitimately might be the best defense in the entire country, with the ability to put pressure on quarterbacks. Again, it's been beaten into the ground, but Oregon have allowed just 1 sack. The first play of the game was a sack from Mario. Everything good?
Yeah, I just did that just to see if that was your audio that's scratching a little bit.
Apologies.
Keep going.
But this defense, the way it can get pressure on the quarterback, the tackles for a loss, the turnovers, the interceptions, the having All-Americans at all 3 levels, and it's not even the All-Americans that we necessarily thought coming into the season. Mikhail Kamara has been good, but he hasn't been his dominant self. But that hasn't mattered because Mario Landino, Kellen Wyatt, Stephen Daly, Tyreek Tucker, those guys have stepped up and looked like all Big Ten caliber players. There's 3 linebackers in the Hoosiers linebacking room that have a legitimate case to be all Big Ten players in Elijah Hardy and in Isaiah Jones. D'Angelo Pons, he speaks for himself. He's spectacular. Lou Moore's been awesome. I think this defense is still perhaps flying a little bit under the radar because Fernando Mendoza obviously gets a lot of the Heisman talks. Elijah Surratt's playing like one of the best receivers in the country. Omar Cooper's been awesome in Rome, and Hemby and Kalen Black have dominated the run game, the pass game, or the offensive line game has been good. But this defense, this defense has been one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country this season.
Defensive line has been absolutely crazy. I mentioned in 2 games against 2 top 10 teams. They've recorded 13 sacks. 13 sacks against 2 teams in the top 10. That is nuts. And so it is just shows how this defense has just come around and continue to get better.
And I think it's what Bryant Haynes does. And this is why Bryant Haynes will get some head coaching looks, maybe not this offseason, but soon. This is something where Bryant Haynes has developed a scheme and a pattern of just dominance for IU.
No doubt about Badger.com with complete coverage of all things Indiana there with the On3 Network.
Thanks, Ray.
You betcha. Hey, man, and I can't thank each and every one of you as always as well. We're back tomorrow to do this again. Coach Griff will be on, Dustin Schutte. Matt Taylor's will get ready for the Colts this weekend and see what else we can scare up. Also, maybe some of the guys from On3, Andy Staples, maybe I get him on as after this huge win. And what now for the football season as the college season rolls on? What is college football going to do when Indiana just won't go away? They won't stop being a team that has to be reckoned with. Kurt Signetti won't go away. Google him. Google him. Well, when you Google him, is he still the Indiana coach next year? That's going to be something. But, yeah, that'll be questions. But that's going to be questions over the next several weeks with programs like Florida potentially looking for a coach. You've got Penn State looking for a coach. Man, they're not the only ones either. A lot of talk out there. We'll see. We've got 6 weeks of the, well, more than that really, but 6 weeks of the college season or football season left of games. Of course, there's a bye week in there for Indiana somewhere along the way. When does that happen? Coming up soon? No, I have to look at the calendar on that. But yeah, this defense of Indiana's is phenomenal. It is possibly the best defense in the country. It is done things that a lot of other defenses have not done. And we'll keep on watching it roll as now they get a chance to roll on through some teams. They played a very, very, very tough part of their schedule, the toughest 3-game stretch of the year with games against Illinois, at Iowa, at Oregon. Now they get to possibly beat up on some teams like Michigan State and UCLA and maybe Maryland. Stack some stat points up. We'll find out. Hey, we're back tomorrow to do this again. Appreciate you for being with us. As always, until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.